The investigator didn't just smirk, he leaned back like a man who believed power made him untouchable. Your daughter wanted this, he said casually. She shaved her head because it's fashion. The case is closed, and one of the boys is the captain's son. In that moment, I felt something colder than anger, something trained, something disciplined. Hi, my name is Evan Kareely. I'm 52 years old, retired U.S. Special Forces reconnaissance commander, now living a quiet civilian life in a small coastal town. I thought my battles were behind me. I was wrong. My daughter Maya came home 3 nights ago, silent, eyes empty, scalp raw and exposed. She said nothing, but her body spoke louder than any words. She hid in her room, lights off, refusing to look at herself in the mirror. The next morning, a video arrived on my phone. A group of wealthy boys laughing, circling her, taunting her, chanting, "Watch how we have fun with your bald girl. Stay quiet, old man, or we'll come for you." They thought fear would paralyze me. They misread me completely. I didn't call a lawyer. Not yet. I didn't storm the school. I didn't threaten anyone. Instead, I made 3 calls to people who understood strategy, surveillance, and leverage better than any courtroom. Within hours, patterns emerged: deleted posts, altered timelines, fake witness statements, and a school administration more interested in protecting reputations than children. That night, Maya finally spoke. Dad, are they going to get away with this? I placed my hand on hers. No, I said quietly. They just don't know how badly they've miscalculated. Outside, rain hit the windows like a countdown, and I began my plan. The first thing they forgot is that I was trained to disappear. The second, that I was also trained to make other people reappear on paper, on record, in ways they never intended. By noon the next day, I had surveillance footage from the hospital's west corridor showing 3 of the boys walking out of Maya's room laughing. No nurses saw them go in, but they were there. I sent the video to my former team. No words, just the clip. By evening, they had names, addresses, family connections, and more disturbing details. One boy's father owned half the board. Another had sealed juvenile records. The third, his uncle was the chief of police. That explained the investigator's smirk. But this wasn't about violence. I wasn't going to lay a hand on them. I was going to do something worse. One of my men, Jenkins, now worked cybersecurity for a major private school network. He pulled archived data the district thought was erased. Search history, group chats, deleted TikToks. They told a story the school had tried to bury. I created a digital timeline, every post, every message, every policy violation. Then I prepared 3 envelopes, each with full evidence. One for the Department of Education, one for the state licensing board, and one, my favorite, for a local journalist who owed me a favor. But I didn't send them yet. I wanted them to feel safe first. I wanted them to gloat because when the fall begins from arrogance, it hits harder. I waited 5 days, long enough for Maya to stop flinching when her phone buzzed, long enough for the boys to start posting again. Their usual private stories, group chats, and ego-laced locker room comments. They were braver behind screens. They always are. Then came the mistake I was counting on. A new video. This one never made it to public social media. It was sent directly to Maya's old account. They didn't know I'd taken control of it. In the video, 2 boys were wearing ski masks, but their voices were clear as day. One held a clump of brown hair in his fist. The other said, "Tell your daddy to back off or this time we'll do more than shave her." Then they laughed, and I didn't. I packaged the video into a new envelope. This one marked threatening minors and obstruction. Urgent. I sent it directly to a U.S. Army liaison who works in civilian military intelligence transfer. Not because I needed enforcement, but because I wanted tracking. My team was already monitoring their devices legally through a digital guardian waiver, the kind parents sign without reading. We tracked pings, deleted audio files, overlapping login locations. Meanwhile, my daughter started to recover slowly, quietly. And one evening, she asked, "Why haven't you done anything?" I smiled gently and replied, "Sweetheart, I'm already doing it. Because sometimes justice wears a suit. Sometimes it wears fatigues, and sometimes it's silent." Friday night, 6:03 p.m. The school board meeting was scheduled to start in 7 minutes. I'd submitted my request to speak as a parent 2 days earlier. Standard procedure. But what wasn't standard was what I submitted with it. A sealed envelope inside the hospital hallway footage, the notebook Maya had hidden after the first incident, The video clip from the boys in ski masks, the signed witness statement from Nurse Becca, who overheard the group joking about buzzing the girl in room 312, and one final page, a photo of my daughter's shaved head taken the morning after it happened, her hands still covering half her face. My 3 minutes at the podium were precise. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't accuse names directly. I simply walked through what happened and then slid the sealed envelope across the table to the superintendent. I've also CC'd the Department of Education, 3 journalists, and an investigator who works with minors in crisis response. I said, "This is your chance to get ahead of this or be swallowed by it." 2 seats away, I saw the football coach, the captain's father, turned pale. The meeting ended with murmurs and fast exits, but not before someone recorded my speech and posted it online. Within 12 hours, it had over 40,000 views. Hashtags began to surface, alumni started commenting, sponsors started calling, and the district, they went very, very quiet. Exactly what I wanted. By Monday morning, 2 of the boys had been pulled from classes. The third, the captain's son, was still attending his father doing PR damage control while the administration stalled, but the silence had broken. A local podcast picked up the story. Then, a national anti-bullying account reshared the speech clip. Within hours, alumni flooded the school's inbox. Donors paused funding. A major sponsor announced a temporary review of affiliation. I hadn't spoken to the press. I didn't need to. Maya's name wasn't mentioned anywhere publicly. I made sure of that. But everyone knew who the bald girl was. The district tried to offer mediation, a carefully worded letter asking for a restorative justice circle. I didn't even respond. My lawyer did, with a detailed record of every policy the school had violated and a draft of a civil lawsuit already reviewed by the Education Board's counsel. Meanwhile, I handed the digital timeline to a former teammate now working internal affairs for the county, not just about the kids, but about their parents. One was funneling district contracts to his own company. Another had attempted to interfere with a police report last year. It wasn't just about Maya anymore. This was a system that protected the sons of power and buried everyone else. And now that system was cracking from the inside. The real fallout hadn't even begun. I was still holding back the one card no one had seen, but when I played it, none of them would be able to hide behind a school badge again. 2 years ago, the school installed a new security system, top-of-the-line cameras with cloud backups. A few months later, they quietly downgraded. Budget reasons. They said the old footage supposedly wiped, but my team had a friend inside the vendor company. Turns out the footage was only archived, not erased. What we pulled shocked even me. One clip showed 2 boys dragging a girl backward into an empty locker room hallway. Ma's hoodie visible, her face blurred by motion, but unmistakable to a father. Another showed a third boy on lookout, laughing, tapping a phone as if filming. Time-stamped, location-coded, clear as daylight. And then we found the janitor logs. Turns out a report was filed a month ago. He'd heard screaming in Hall B girl's wing. Saw 3 male students exit. Signed it, submitted it. The report was never logged in the official incident records. Buried. That was my final card. I packaged everything. Full footage, janitor statement, AI-enhanced frames, prior report logs, internal school emails showing administrative delay. I sent it not to the media, not to the police, but to a state-level child protection investigator and the Department of Justice's Office of Civil Rights. Within 24 hours, the DOJ launched a preliminary inquiry. The district tried to stay quiet, but silence doesn't survive sunlight, and I was just getting started with the floodlights. It started quietly. The superintendent went on leave 2 days after the DOJ inquiry began. The school board released a bland statement about student privacy and ongoing reviews, but internally, panic was setting in. One of my contacts forwarded me an email thread leaked from a nervous admin assistant. It showed school lawyers scrambling trying to pre-negotiate settlements. They were already assuming guilt before anyone had even filed. That's when I moved. My lawyer formally filed a civil lawsuit naming the school, 3 administrators, the district, and the individual boys involved. But we didn't sue for money. We sued for change, permanent removal of the boys from any public school, termination of responsible staff, a binding agreement for policy reform, and third-party oversight, an official apology to Maya in writing. They thought we wanted cash. We wanted accountability. The local news finally picked up the full story. Not just the assault, But the cover-up, the institutional cowardice, the favoritism that let it happen again and again. Parents pulled their donations. One school board member resigned, and then the captain's father, the football coach, was suspended pending further investigation. Collapse doesn't start with a bang. It starts with threads pulled quietly until the whole curtain drops. Maya stood in the kitchen that night watching the latest headlines scroll across the TV. She didn't smile, but she did whisper something I'll never forget. "You didn't just protect me, Dad. You protected the next girl, too." The article dropped on a Tuesday. Front page, not local, national. Headline, District protected star athlete while student was assaulted. Evidence shows the journalist had done their homework. My sealed envelope had been enough to start a deeper investigation. Through interviews, FOIA requests, and internal whistleblowers, the entire cover-up unraveled publicly. They used aliases for the students, including Maya, but the story was unmistakable and undeniable. By Friday, the captain's full scholarship was revoked. The principal was removed. The school board launched a full internal audit, and 3 staff members resigned under mounting pressure. But what mattered most wasn't on paper. Maya came downstairs that morning in jeans and a hoodie, her head still buzzed short, no hat, no scarf. She looked me in the eye and asked, "Can we go get breakfast?" She hadn't left the house without covering her head in weeks. I just nodded. "Anywhere you want." We sat in a quiet corner diner. The waitress recognized her, so did a couple at the next table. No one said a word, but they smiled. Respect, not pity. Later that evening, I walked out to the porch, coffee in hand. The air was calm. The noise was gone. And I remembered what Mr. Langley, the old man from the hospital, had whispered before he passed. "There's more than one way to win a war, son. Sometimes it's making sure your daughter never has to fight it again." I didn't destroy them. I simply exposed them, and that was